Hey guys, it's Glenn again, and as promised, Justin and I are going to show you our quick and dirty techniques for painting our models. Justin and I have been doing demonstration games at conventions for over 20 years now, and because of that we just have to paint tons and tons of models. And one further complication that we have to worry about at conventions is that not only do the models have to look good, they have to be durable because they're going to be used by tons of people. And even beyond that, at a lot of the conventions we go to, we are the ones that are putting on games for kids. So kids are playing with the game specifically that we're demoing for them, as well as running around and touching the other models that we have that are on display. So by now you've seen tons of the Seas of Ice models, so we figured we'd probably show you something new today. So I'm going to pull out another game of ours that's Clouds of Stone. I'm going to assemble it here real quick. Oops, I put it in backwards. Let's do it again. So I'm going to assemble this real quick, then take some super glue and glue that together, and you'll see what that's about. Now, Clouds of Stone is a game based off Da Vinci inspired blimps. So there we go. So that is the base model of one of them. This is the Secunda. And let me pause this real fast and glue it together. Now before I get started, I just wanted to say I really appreciate it when I see figures and models that are really painted up just gorgeously. And it impresses the heck out of me. And trust me, I wish we could do that with all of our models, but we just can't. Once again, we're at conventions, and we just have tons of models to do, so we have to use this process to get it through. I call this painting technique the toothbrush painting technique. So you're going to start off with an old toothbrush. I usually get one of those cheap plastics brushes, nice and beat up. I usually take it and swirl it around so that way it's nice and torn up and have the filaments a little bit separated. And I also do get one relatively good paintbrush, fine tip, and that is usually all I need. Okay, so this model is all glued up. As you can see, it's done. It looks pretty rough, and actually that's part of the technique. I knew that a lot of people might not have the fanciest of 3D printers out there, so I designed these models, and actually all the models in the Frozen Winds universe, to look good even rough. I mean, that's kind of the point. You want these things to look like they've been semi-scratch built. You want them to look like they've been made by hand. So rough textures work just great in this game. The next thing we need is wood glue. I recommend using Titebond 2. This is a water-resistant wood glue, and this makes all the units, when you're done painting them, fairly water-resistant. In fact, I think they're pretty much waterproof. The reason you want that is because there's a lot of people that use washes, and we'll be using a wash also at the end of their painting to make everything more uniform. And with that, you need to have texture along with it, so the wood glue adds texture to the paint. The paints of which are acrylic, simple, cheap acrylic that you get at any of the craft stores. Walmart and Meijer have them inside their craft departments also. Keep in mind that you will be making, as you can see, the wood glue is a little yellow. Let me put out a little drop. It's a little yellow, so whatever you paint with it, you have to take that into account. Usually we're not too finicky about it, but some people are, and if you are really finicky about your colors, this may not be the best technique in the world for you. So I'm putting down this dab of yellow. Let me get this close to the camera so you see that. Oh, sorry. This is a dab of wood glue. And we're going to be using this yellow acrylic here. It's more of an off-white. I'm not totally sure what that's supposed to be. But it's supposed to be equal amounts. So wood glue, the acrylic paint that you want. It doesn't have to be perfect proportions, but the closer the better. And then this is just water. I just put it in a dropper so it's a little bit easier to see. And you do that so it's roughly the same amount. It's kind of hard to see, but there you go. Actually, you can't see it at all on the camera. Sorry about that. But there are equal amounts of wood glue, acrylic paint, and water. Now, I'm going to take the toothbrush and mix that all together. The acrylic is really lumpy. Well, at least the cheap acrylics are, and we use the cheap acrylics only because I get a nice variety of colors in that. I'm partially colorblind, and it's just easier for me to read a label and go, okay, that's the color that I want, or as opposed to like mixing custom colors. So that's mixed up right. There we go. You're trying to get out all the lumps and all that out of there. There we go. So I got that mixed. Now it's really easy. Just take the model and just scrub it on there. Like I said, the one thing I like about the wood glue is that when I do a wash, it then covers up, it then gives a little texture for the wash to grip onto. You don't need to watch me covering the rest of this, so I'm going to pause it real fast. Okay, finished painting that. It's drying over here. That's going to take a little bit. And that's the one cool thing about the wood glue and the acrylic. Doesn't take that long to dry. It takes about, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on the temperature and humidity level. Okay, let me go grab the things we'll be painting. These are the chain links. These are the chains that hold the gondola that sits underneath the blimps. So I have just a ton of these things because I have a ton of blimps I have to paint for the next convention that's coming up, assuming we have a convention. So it's really easy. Just dump it inside the container, cover it up, and just shake away. So as you see, they're thoroughly covered. Actually, you really can't see that in there. But they're thoroughly covered. I'm going to take these things out and lay them out for drying. So now I'm going to show you a technique we call dunking. And it just sounds like exactly what it is. You get a bunch of durable parts, something that can handle being shaken up a little bit, and you just dunk it in the paint. So formula, once again, is pretty easy. It's going to be 1 part glue, 2 parts paint. Here I'm going to be using a gunmetal. There we go. And then 3 parts water. Well, you can't see this, but just have to trust me, it's 3 parts. So now I got my little brush, and let's mix that all together. I love using these acrylic paints because, one thing, they're cheap, but they're also water soluble. In fact, also is the wood glue. I think I said that in the last part, but even though the wood glue is water resistant once it's dry, while it's wet, it's easily be washable. Now, once again, I don't know if I said this last time, but I love these acrylic paints because of the variety of colors you can get them in. But the main reason people like using them for fancy stuff is because they're all clumpy and lumpy. But by doing this technique, they're no longer lumpy. Okay, I'm going to show you the toothbrush painting technique again. Good glob here. But I'm going to show you how it can be used in a different way. So once again, 1 part glue, 1 part paint. I'm using a tannish brown here. And then 1 part water. Get the toothbrush, mix it all in. Get out all the lumps. The other thing I forgot to mention is that the wood glue is actually lumpier than the paint is. So if you keep on mixing till you see the wood glue is completely melted out and mixed in, you know the paint's good. Okay, now looking at our blimp piece and getting our beat up brush, I take it and I do a dry brush technique. It's barely dab the thing on, and because this is a blimp that's traveling through the air, I go along with the wind current more on the front than some streaks going towards the back. It might have been a little bit too much there. That's okay. It's supposed to be just small flecks, nothing, not large splotches, which I screwed up over there, but I'll cover that with a shadow later on. There we go. Okay, I do have a couple splotches that are way too dark here. Should not have done that. Like, that's way too much. So is that, but I'm going to keep it for right now. If I'm lucky, I'll be able to work that in. And if it's too thick, it doesn't look right, I could always go back with that one good brush and get those parts done better. Okay, so that's just the way of speckling the outside. I know it's kind of dark, sorry about that. There you go. Then you saw me mix up a whole lot of paint, and you go, that's way more than you need for the speckling. But I'm going to get the little wings here. Get those painted up. Now, one cool thing, I said before that this dries fairly fast. It does dry, like I said, 45 minutes, hour and a half at the most, depending on the weather conditions. But if you have a hair dryer, it dries even faster. I think, you know what, I'm going to time it. I'm going to dry these wings off, see how long it takes. But it can't be more than 5 minutes. And that's a hair dryer on low. These are printed in PLA, so you don't want to do high because that will melt it. At least I think that will melt it. I never really measured the temperature. But as far as paint is concerned, it's great for drying paint nice and quick. So let me pause this here and finish it up. Okay, now last but not least, we are going to do a wash. And this does require some measurements, so they'll be a little bit more precise, but really not that precise. It still works just fine. So as far as precise measurements are concerned, this is how precise we're talking about. So we're going to need some dish soap. I prefer Palmolive, I hope I can say that, or Dawn. Any of the sort of gel-like looking ones, the see-through looking ones, don't get any of the lotion ones. That does not work very well. So you get, like, I call it 2 BBs worth of soap, and that spreads out right away, but I hopefully you get an idea of volume. Then you need twice as much glue, which is usually just a small squirt. So, I don't know, 4 BBs worth of glue. Now, you need 3 times as much, or 6 BB drops worth of whatever paint you want to use. And I'm going to be using, this isn't quite black. It's, what is this stuff? Whatever it is. It's not quite black, it's more of a charcoal. So, take that, mix it up nice and well. Once again, get rid of the splotches. Or not splotches, the, what you call it? Clumps. There you go. Get rid of the clumps. You're going to see it foam up a little bit because, you know, you got soap inside there. And I think the toothbrush was a little wet, but that's okay. From when I was washing it before. Okay, so I got that mixed up. Now you need half a shot of water. Once again, a little container. Then I use the toothbrush to scoop up the paint and mix that in. I'm not going to get every little bit of it, but you're going to try to get as much as possible. Now, if you're a professional painter, don't use this wash. There's tons of different YouTubes out there for making professional washes. Because the one issue you're going to have is that if you like do a whole army, you're going to want the washes to match if you've like done them over different sessions. And this wash you can only really use at the time. It'll maybe last a day or two, but really after that the glue starts clumping up and starts making a mess. Now you might be wondering, asking yourself if you've never used a wash before, why did I put soap in this? Now, the whole idea between a wash or behind a wash is to get the soap to take the paint and disperse it into all the little bitty cracks. So that's why I use that. So let me get the model over here. Hold a second. Oh, okay. So I've assembled the Secunda here, and put the wings onto it, attached it together. Oh, I did use the hair dryer to dry this thing off, and like the main body of the blimp took, I think, all of 3 minutes. Each wing took about a minute and a half. So, like I said, hair dryer works really, really well. Remember, do it on the low setting, not the high setting, because this is PLA plastic. Even with ABS, that'll melt it pretty fast. Or if you use high, like hold it really, really far away from the hair dryer. Okay, and last but not least, I apply this with an not old one, disposable brush, disposable foam brush. This seems to work best for me. And you can keep using this over and over again. It's not necessarily disposable. It's just nice and cheap to use. So just brush the thing on there, and it's not gonna look like it's barely going on there. You can, as you can tell, you can. I doubt this camera is good enough to even see. Once again, that's why we're kickstarting, and that's what we hope to do with some of the money, get some better video equipment. But the whole idea is that you're getting it on there. Then, like I said, the soap will help disperse it amongst all the cracks. Then as it dries, it will show up in the nice little nooks and crannies and give it a nice finish effect. Now, I got the chain there. I could do that as a wash also, but that was a dark color, so you'll never see that anyway. Now, I painted this on here. There we go. And you can put it on there pretty thick, because even as thick as you put it, it's going to wash out anyway. I know, sorry, that's a bad term to use, but it's going to sort of fade away and disappear a little bit. There we go. Nice and wet and gooey. No, not really gooey, it's just wet. Of course, my hands are like totally covered in this stuff. You got the glue, of course, and everything else. So I'm going to put this thing down. And that's actually all there is to the techniques. Like I said, you got the toothbrush wash. I'm sorry. You got the toothbrush painting. You got the wash, and you got the toothbrush painting with the dry technique. Oh, then also the dunk. So that's all we use to paint all of our models. And then once I let this dry, I am going to use the hair dryer again. It's probably not best to use the hair dryer. You should probably let it air dry, but I'm being a little impatient. I want to get this video done. I'll come back and I'll show you the finished model. Okay, so here we have the Secunda assembled. You can see that all. Like I said, we need some better equipment here. But this is the Secunda with the catapult on there. As you can see, the catapult actually moves. Though this catapult isn't normally on this particular blimp. But normally, for some of the other blimps, the gondola would be up on top. So that's where the catapults would be able to fling their stuff. Let me stop recording this and put the proper weapon on there. Hold a second. Okay, there we go. So, as with just like Seas of Vice, the weapons are interchangeable. So now you have it with the scythe on here. That scythe actually spins around, but I goofed up and put a little too much glue on one spot. So, oh well, I goofed that up. But you get the point. The gondola hasn't been painted yet. That's not a final design on the gondola. I'm still trying to perfect that a little bit. And this here is the umbra. This is what holds the model up. And eventually the record keeping will be done on the shadow part. And then this, of course, is holding up. The reason it's got this weird plank right there, just like everything else, we've designed it so this can all be printed on a small printer. Only 3 inches by 3 inches. There are some printers that are that small. Most are not, though. And this allows you to disassemble it. So that's one example of painting. We also have triremes. These are some other things that we've been doing since forever. We do have, like I said, this is really supposed to be painted really dark, so it's not so you really can't tell because it's more ancient kind of stuff. But there you go. Those are our triremes. This is what the Athenian trireme, the Roman trireme, the Roman quinquereme, and then this is the 2 quinqueremes with a tower in between it, a sieging tower in between there. So that's another one of our games. But that's a quick critique. Well, sorry, that's a quick review of our painting techniques using the toothbrush painting method. And there you go. And a little sneak peek at Clouds of Stone and then triremes. Well, Thank you very much, guys. Like I said, we've been funded already. I think we've double funded at this point, and just thanks. Justin and I are so excited. We can't. We're surprised we even funded, quite frankly, and we hope to give you more. So thanks. I'm terrible at saying this kind of stuff. I just want to thank you all very much for supporting us.